York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez made an appearance along with other top Democrats at the Munich Security Conference over the weekend.
The Congresswoman and potential presidential candidate for 2028 did an hour-long panel that was mainly focused on foreign policy. At one point, AOC was asked if she thought the U.S. should commit troops to help defend Taiwan if China were to invade the island, and she appeared to struggle in finding the right words for her response. Take a look.
I think that this is such a, I think that this is this is, of course, a very longstanding policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point. And we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation.
That moment was seized on by critics of AOC, who argued she should have a better response ready for such an important foreign policy issue. Tensions between Taiwan and China have ramped up in the past couple of years, with some in the U.S. military believing China could move on the island as soon as next year. It should be disastrous. Conservative commentator Niall Gardner wrote on X, "I look forward to a clueless socialist AOC debating J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio in 2028. Her knowledge of foreign policy and national security issues is practically zero."
But others felt that the Congresswoman's comments were more a result of the Democratic Party as a whole not having a firm stance on the issue. Writer and activist Melissa Chen says, "I can't stand AOC's politics, but to be honest, this tongue-tied word salad moment at the Munich conference isn't really her fault. The truth of the matter is that her party failed to give her a proper canned response, so she was rightly afraid of answering this question because any wrong answers risk unleashing Beijing's wrath."
And in a separate panel at the conference, AOC was asked about the possibility of imposing a wealth tax on billionaires in the U.S. That's a subject she likes addressing, I think, more than foreign policy. She appeared to reiterate her support for such a tax, but she said she doesn't think she should have to become president for it to happen.
So when you run for president, are you going to impose a wealth tax or a billionaire's tax?
I don't think that I don't think that anyone, and that we don't have to wait for any one president to impose a wealth tax. I think that it needs to be done expeditiously.
Well, we'll come back to that. Let's stick with the foreign policy stuff. I think chatter around this was AOC, who is going to be a presidential candidate, I believe. Foreign policy is not what she's known for. She's known for her economic views. So we're all interested to hear what she'd have to say on these subjects. Not her area of strength. I don't think I saw in other remarks she made, I thought she was more impressive, how she tied in resentment against the elites and the surging nationalism and populism, and talking about how, from her perspective, now I don't agree with this at all, but from her perspective, that's about economic insecurity, and it's why we need to address the underlying economic insecurity in society to mitigate those nationalist, populist, far right, in her view, sentiments. I don't agree with her, but that was transmuting it into something she's comfortable talking about, so I thought that was skillfully done. This answer was obviously not good. I mean, what she said eventually was fine. She didn't say it in a very eloquent manner, and those ums and ahs and pauses at the beginning were not at all encouraging, and it's because there's Democratic incoherence on this. I mean, it is. We want to leave strategic ambiguity because we don't want to be in World War III with China, but we also just don't want them to invade Taiwan. So we want them to think that we would defend it militarily at all costs, even if in reality, I don't know that we are going to fight a war halfway around the world over this. So that's the ambiguity. We're just defending Taiwan is very important. China cannot do this. We oppose them. We are willing to make strong efforts to stop them, but we don't want it to come to warfare, so we will continue to negotiate, apply economic pressures if need be, and do everything we can to not have it result in World War III. But yes, Taiwan is important. It must be defended. That's what you say. And she actually did basically say that. She just didn't say it very eloquently, and it took her a while.
Well,
right?
I think she certainly could have answered the question better. When I step back and look at the entire conference, this is a place reserved for generally like diplomats, world leaders. So to see her there, yes, I agree with you. I was being sarcastic earlier. She certainly is setting herself up for a wider stage, her presidential run. And so she has to be prepared for these questions. I think when we look at the way that the U.S. under the Trump administration has behaved in recent months, from taking Maduro out of Venezuela to moving forward and saying you want to take over Greenland, and people saying the way that we treated Russia instead of Ukraine as more of our ally and treated Ukraine as, I think that all adds into encouraging places like China to go ahead and move forward in Taiwan. I mean, if the U.S. is over there doing whatever they want, acting like it's conquer and do whatever you want, then why would they not? And so that's probably an argument that you've always disagreed with, but we're egging them on to say this is acceptable behavior. Yes, we are in a position where that's what we do and are doing.
This is false. They are not looking at what we do and saying, oh,
you don't
because
know.
the U.S.
You don't know.
Let me finish. Because they attacked Venezuela, because they said some things about Greenland, that means we are now within our rights to take down. It's the reverse. If anything, it deters them from doing it, because it shows that we're ready to go to war. We will fight to defend our interests. We are not going to sit idly by as they gobble up more land. And in fact, what we did in Venezuela was in part about interrupting resources for them. It's about defending our issues vis-a-vis China. So it does not embolden them. It puts them on notice for what we're prepared to do.
I just think it's wholly hypocritical for us to lecture about the appropriate ways to take over or not take over certain parts of the globe when we are arguably in the middle of a debate about what was...
No one cares about that. What do you mean hypocritical?
It's hypocritical for us to tell China what they shouldn't be doing. We just went into Venezuela and have no plan for moving forward.
No,
we took out a leader about drugs and crime when the main drugs aren't even coming to this country from that country. And so we're telling you, we're keeping you in jail while we don't change the leadership.
Nicolas Maduro, the rightfully elected president of that country?
No, but...
He is the illegitimate leader of that country.
Fine.
So it is not hypocritical. It is not. I mean, you can say we shouldn't have done it. You could, like, I'm fine to have the conversation, but there's not a moral equivalency or hypocrisy there if they were to what they've done in Hong Kong or if they were to take over Taiwan. No, those are places that should be sovereign and independent because they want to be independent of China, that have democracy and human rights, and China does not have democracy and human rights. So it is wrong for them to do that. The reverse is true in the U.S. case. We have democracy and human rights. Venezuela has a dictatorship run by an evil person, and we took him out. Not hypocritical, just different things are different.
Okay, and circling back to the criticisms about her lack of foreign policy experience, that's laughable. I want to know exactly who's criticizing her, because the Trump administration is full of people who lack foreign policy experience that are running the show and MAGA.
Like Marco Rubio?
No, like Jared Kushner, like Tulsi Gabbard, like Pete Hegseth, like the president himself. Right? So we have all these standards for AOC who's slowly building her.
I don't know that you can say they lack experience. I mean, they were... Jared Kushner's policies are not necessarily mine, but he was
military
in a
service
senior advising role for the first Trump administration, engaging in negotiation and diplomacy with world leaders all over the place. I mean, you could say maybe he didn't have experience at the beginning. I don't know how you can say that now. He's been doing that job for years. He now has the experience.
Okay, Tulsi Gabbard, explain her. Pete Hegseth came from Fox News to running the show.
She was a member of Congress, and she's traveled.
So in the same way, that's what my point is that if you accept these people, then you need to accept AOC moving forward. Don't just be critical trying to point out things that she hasn't learned. Well, she has 3 more years to figure out how her policies land on every single international affair.
I'm not really saying she should be disqualified on this basis. I'm saying she's new to the game of commenting on this. She has not done, I don't think, a ton of international trips or meetings with world leaders, or has not focused on those issues in terms of her congressional. It's not a knock on her. Honestly, I'm not even.
I mean, people online took that soundbite and were like, "Oh,
well, she's gotta study a little harder for the exam next time." I guess is what I would say. Obviously, she wants to do the wealth tax on the billionaires. We're seeing how that's going in California. They're all fleeing to Florida. So if we did it for the whole country, they'll all flee to
where?
Switzerland?
Canada?
I don't know. Maybe Canada, maybe, if they have a less... God, that would be a sad day if Canada had a less punitive tax and regulatory regime than the U.S. Then our loss will be their gain. That could very well happen.
I think AOC was looking quite presidential. I'm not going to lie. I hadn't watched the clips in full. I listened and read what she said, but she was looking presidential over there. You have to admit that. You won't admit it?
I mean, if you're discounting the possibility that she becomes president, I would like to disabuse you of that notion. I think she has a very decent shot at the nomination. I think she's probably in the 3
And if
most
the biggest
likely people
issue
to
is
get
the
it.
billionaires tax for her right now, and that's the
Well-
biggest issue, well, she has a lot of other things going for her. I mean, a lot of people
I mean,
cannot relate to being a
We
billionaire.
are doing an experiment in the billionaires tax in real time right now, and it's not working out very well.
Yes, because billionaires are leaving California.
because they don't want to
But
pay
guess
the
what?
tax.
The rest
That
of
could
people,
happen.
The rest
to
of the
US.
people that populate California are staying.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah, they're not fleeing out of the state.
driving. This is textbook Atlas Shrugged. Driving the most productive, entrepreneurial, successful, employing, innovating people in the economy, in the society, driving them elsewhere is a recipe for complete disaster.
But no one's leaving the
So-
country. I don't think that all these
we
companies
didn't
are
do
going to
it
leave.
writ
Yeah, if
large.
AOC's president, I don't think they're leaving the country. Everyone swears they're leaving at some point when somebody becomes president.
I didn't say they're leaving if she becomes president, but if you do a giant wealth tax, they might leave.
That's what I mean. If she becomes president and implements a wealth tax, I
Right.
doubt that these billionaires are moving to other countries. I just
Oh,
doubt
if
it.
she does the wealth tax, they very well might.
Okay. We have a lot more to talk about on Rising. Stay with us.